OK，
Hello，欢迎大家来到第9周的 G.R.M.T 连结内在真我读书会。然后今天我们要继续探讨关于我们的信念，还有各式各样的内在的发生，还有经验。对，所以让我们热烈欢迎LLOYLD老师。Welcome, LLOYLD teacher.
Thank you. Good to be here in Taiwan.
老师说很荣幸可以在台湾。
Yeah, so I hope your translation skills are good tonight. Okay, so well, we've been talking about the book that I wrote some time ago now, 1995, first published with HarperCollins. And we've got through to chapter 7, which is section 3 of the book. So basically, I'll just say what the book is about. It's about the idea of expressing our real self or our true self, rather than just sort of following along and conforming and being sort of just going with whatever our childhood conditioning dictates. So the idea, which is, getting a lot more kind of dominant these days, the whole idea of being real. So we've already covered the first 6 chapters, which are really talking about the idea that being authentic or being ourselves is the real challenge of this life, that we are given a certain amount of space to live, time span, and the question is, well, what do we do with it? And it seems rather pointless if we are not sort of exploring just, who we are and what it is for us as individuals to be alive and be in the world. So that's the focus of the book. And in this section of the book, we just want to kind of recap in a way some of what we've already been talking about, because it's about our belief systems and what we believe, and how our beliefs and how our thinking are shaping our reality. And so that's what we're looking at tonight.
好，就是LLOYLD老师分享说他在1995年写这本书，然后主要内容就是关于连结我们内在真实的自我的那个部分。然后与其我们就是常常跟随着别人的想法或是别人的意见来生活，然后或是跟随我们童年所学习到的一些信念模式，或是一些惯性模式、原生家庭模式来生活。然后这本书想要提供给大家，就是可以让大家找回自己人生的自主权，然后来发展自己真正想要过的那种很热血，然后很真实的那种自己喜欢的生活的那种理想生活的方式。对，然后我们今天会继续来讲，就是要怎么样去达成还有实现。OK。
Okay. Thanks for your translating, Bonnie. Good.
It's too long.
Okay. Too long. Oh. Yeah, well, I'm still learning how to do this process. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this first chapter here, number 7. So the essential message here is that our beliefs are creating our reality. Our beliefs are creating our experience. So we can think of it in terms of the way of perception. The way I see things is going to be the way they are for me. That might be a very simple way of talking about it. There's a common expression in the West, or an idea about seeing things as the sort of the cup, half empty versus half full. And you might have a similar Chinese idea. There is an idea of looking through at the world with rose-colored glasses, or rose-tinted glasses, which means kind of pinky color, saying that you're looking at the world in a perhaps overly positive way. But it could be, black tinted glasses, an overly dark way. But the general idea for both of those things is that how we are looking at the world is going to shape our experience of the world.
就是今天要探讨的第7章，就是关于信念会如何创造我们的实相，还有形成我们的经验，然后就是我们怎么看事情是用什么角度在看，就是像西方有一个很有名的一个实验，就是那个半杯的水，然后有些人看的话会觉得，哎，怎么就是只有一半，就是只有看到空的那个部分，但是有另外的人用不同视角看，他就会觉得就是还有空间可以装更多，然后或是他们就会觉得还有一半可以喝，就是每个人看事情的角度的不同，然后会影响我们不一样的世界观或是个人的创造这样。OK。
Yeah. So let's look at this sentence here and see what we've got here. This one here. Can you see the pointer there, Bonnie, or does that show up? Or just that
the yellow bit?
Yeah, no, I can see the yellow bit. Can you see my cursor, my pointer? No.
Yeah.
Can you see my thing moving along? No, you can. Yeah. So the way in which we each perceive our circumstances, the way our life is, what's happening, affects the way we respond, how we respond, which in turn is going to affect our circumstances, right? So the situation, I see the situation that's happening, and the way I respond to that situation, which is based on my thinking, is going to further affect my situation, right? So I'm creating that situation as I respond to it. So it's, you see this all the time. How do I, it's particularly important in terms of like something like self-esteem. If I think, I'm not good enough, I'm going to look at I'm going to look at my result and I'm going to think probably that it is not good enough. And then I will withdraw from my participation in whatever that thing is, which is going to prove to me that I'm not good enough because I won't be effective in that thing anymore. So we're manifesting or creating our experience by the way we perceive something. If I perceive something in a positive light, it's going to have a positive effect. If I perceive something not as a failure but as a lesson, that will have a different outcome that will shape my behavior in a different way. If I perceive something that maybe others would think is a failure, but I perceive that, I see it as a success in that I learned something and I'm now ready for a next step, that's a very different sort of a take on life, and it's going to be tapping into more of my resources and it's going to move me along.
就是黄色这一段就是在讲我们是用什么样的感觉去看这个现在发生的状况，然后会影响到我们的反应。就是如果你内在是有一种我不够好的感觉的话，那你可能在参与一些事情的时候，你就常常会一直感觉说，对啊，我就是不够好，然后我就是怎样怎样。对，但是如果你是用一个比较正向的，就是我们怎么样感觉，它也是会完全影响到我们的自尊跟自信心的。然后所以这部分就蛮重要的。OK。
Okay, so I wrote about a little example when I was writing this book. I had this little experience with a friend of mine.
这边有一个案。
Yeah, so I was in New Zealand, and I was in the South Island in the city of Christchurch where I was living at that time. And we were walking through the city, my friend and female friend and I, and I knew that she had difficulty finding a boyfriend, finding a partner. And I noticed, and I knew that she felt that she wasn't that attractive. Okay, so that was the situation.
就是老师要分享一个例子，就是他跟一个朋友就是出去，然后他就发现他那个朋友觉得自己好像都没有那么讨人喜欢，然后好像交不太到男朋友，然后他朋友自己也这样觉得，然后老师也知道他有这个状况，这样。
So as we were walking along, I noticed that, we were going through the business district, and I noticed that there was, a few men would pass us, and they would sort of like check her out. They would like notice her. They were noticing her, and I thought that she looked like quite an attractive woman, and definitely there was people walking along as we were going that were paying attention to her, that noticed her. And I asked her about that. And I said, are you noticing that? Do you notice that people kind of check you out and notice you? And she did not notice that at all. Didn't notice it at all. She wasn't looking for that, and she didn't think that was happening. And that was against her idea that men would be interested in her. So her thought was that they are not interested in her. There's something wrong with her, and that's why she has this great difficulty attracting somebody that she likes. So I thought that's really an interesting example of just how the way she perceived herself, that is like not attractive and of no interest to others, to other men, influenced her experience, her reality. She just didn't see this sort of, people interested in her. So I just thought it was a classic example of how she was shaping her reality by the beliefs that she had. In this case, it was self-esteem.
就是对，就是老师刚刚说他那个朋友觉得自己是没有办法吸引，就是男士的青睐或是注意，但是老师走在他的旁边啊，然后他就发现，有路过好几个男生，其实都会可能回头看他的那个女生朋友，然后是会有注意到他那个女生朋友，然后所以老师就问那个他的女生朋友说，你有注意到吗？有几个男生都会就是有注意你，然后会回头看你，多看你几眼这样。然后他的女生朋友就回应说，没有啊，就怎么可能？就是一定不可能的，因为他的内在信念，然后跟他所感知到，就是他已经假定他是一个，就是没有办法吸引男生的注意力，然后没有办法吸引男生的青睐的一个女性的角色，所以他的注意力就完全 focus 在他不受人喜爱的这个部分，然后就完全去忽略到实际的状况。对，然后就是这样的信念跟这样的感知，它就会影响到外在的一些呈现。So it's like she presume she is not popular people.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, that she wasn't popular with men. That was her thought. Now, I don't know where that came from, but I had been doing some work with her in some workshop, and that was her perception, and that's how she saw life. Yeah. So it was an interesting how her beliefs were manifesting, that reality. And I think that's quite a common area for us to have difficulties in our thinking. The idea, if you think about the idea of attractive, this word, what's attractive in Mandarin, the idea that I am attractive.
就是很有魅力，很有吸引力。
I'm an attractive man or I'm an attractive woman. What does that mean? So the attraction, that's interesting that we use that word there, attraction. Attract is to, draw attention to us, draw something to us. I'm attracting prosperity. I'm attracting people to me. I'm attracting interesting things into my life. It's this attracting is this drawing things towards us. I think it's an interesting interesting word in itself, that I'm attractive, that I draw people towards me. So, not attractive, what is that? I am not attractive. That means, I'm pushing people away. I'm repelling things. I think it's good to think about that word. So that if we are thinking we are attractive, I think it's probably more than just sort of partners or relationships we will attract. We'll probably attract other things as well, because beliefs get generalized.
就老师说注意力这个词很有趣，大家可以去想一下，注意力它就是有一种人家说你很有魅力，然后就是一种你很有吸引力，你会把别人吸过来，然后不管是把财富吸过来，还是把一些朋友吸过来，或是把一些伴侣吸过来，就是对。那如果你觉得自己是一个就是没有吸引力的人，那你就是再把别人都推开，把别人的注意力啊都推开。对，那所以有吸引力的人，他其实就是把他往自己的身上拉，那相反的就是把它推开这样。所以大家可以去想一下注意力这个词它代表的一些意涵。Okay.
So this section is about how how our thinking influences our experience, our reality. So I think we can think about, what are we attracting or not attracting, and what would we like to attract or not, or don't want to attract, and thinking about what do we believe there. Are we attractive? I think it's good to come back to, a simple belief or a simple thought that, I am attractive. What would happen? What's your mind say if you started to write that down? I am attractive. That's a very simple thought. And if you write it down and then see what your response is, like I previously, I think I've demonstrated the idea of how to use an affirmation. If we write down, I am attractive, what's the first thing that our mind wants to say to that?
My mind responds, don't be silly.
Yeah, probably a fairly normal type of response that people might have. I'm attractive, don't be silly. Okay, well, if I'm not attractive, what am I? Okay, well, maybe I'm a little attractive. I don't know about that. Yeah. I mean, I used to think that I was totally unattractive, not attractive at all as a child, which is just a crazy, crazy thing to be thinking. Crazy thing. Compared to what? Not attractive compared to what? Compared to who? Sort of, we all have our beauty. So that's an interesting exercise. You can write down, I am attractive, and see what happens. We can.
这边老师建议大家可以去做之前那种肯定句的练习，就是你可以写下这一句，就是我很有吸引力，或是我很有魅力，然后去看你的脑袋跑出什么样的回应。那像我刚刚说，我的回应就是啊，你不要耍笨的，就是有一种这是不可能的这种回应，就头脑的回应。对，然后这是一个很常见的回应，就是自我否定的回应。然后大家可以去练习，然后去看看你的潜意识是希望你是有魅力的人，还是希望你是一个没有吸引力的人，就是可以去看一下。Okay.
Yeah, it's a good place to start with that idea, because it's really it's close to the idea of self-esteem, which we've talked about before. The idea of of really appreciating ourselves. Okay, so this next idea here. So remember, this section is about how we're shaping our experience of reality. Okay, so this idea here, the law of extension. So I just wrote a little bit about that here. And I think that one way we can think about that here in Taiwan is from a Buddhist perspective. As Buddhism is quite popular here, so we can think about it in terms of karma. I think the Buddhist concept, the Buddhist idea of karma, is really about this law of extension, or the principle of extension. another way to think about that in terms of karma and this is that it's the idea of cause and effect, cause and consequence, cause and outcome.
So extension means karma?
No, well, extension here is the law of extension means that there is an outflow. That we do something, it's like and it radiates out, consequences. If we drop the stone in the water, it creates a ring of energy that goes out. When the wind blows on the ocean, it creates waves which turn into a swell that rolls up to the coast.
好，就是下面这边要讲那个佛教里面俗称的那个因果关系，然后你也可以说是坊间俗称的业力，然后它其实就是你做的一件事情，它会引发的一些涟漪的效应，跟它会扩大的一些范围。对。
Yeah. So if we talk about this one in terms of karma, okay, we say, so karma, what is karma? Okay, so we think, so karma, we think probably the common Western idea is that, you do something good and some good thing will happen in the future for you. You do something bad and something bad will happen in the future for you. That's kind of the general sort of common idea about karma. Good things will produce good things, good actions will produce good results later, something like that. So from the Buddhist perspective, karma is any action. Okay? So karma is a result. Karma is an outcome. Karma is a consequence. So that's what it is describing. It is the result of something that took place previously. So in Buddhism, karma is any action. And so an action can be a behavior. It's something we do, we treat someone nicely. Well, that's an action. Right? We say some nice words. Well, that's an action. Or we think something, and that's also an action. So in Buddhism, all those things are karmic forces. They are going to create some future outcome. As soon as we have a thought, there is some consequence because that thought is an action and it has produced something. It's a cause and it's going to produce some further thinking. If I think, oh, today's such a bad day. Okay, so what might be an instant thing I might think next? It is such a bad day. Okay, the next thing I'm going to thinking, oh, there's nothing I want to do. Right? And then I'm thinking, so now I've got, it's such a bad day. There's nothing I want to do. The next thing I'm going to be, having a feeling that goes with that, which might be, feeling a feeling of down, low energy, depressed. And the next thing I might be thinking is, oh, I wonder what terrible thing is going to happen today. So this idea, this extension, this is cause and consequence is going to it has an ongoing effect, and that's basically what karma is, cause and an effect. So this is very important to think about because it's happening all the time. Every action we take is having some impact, some future impact. It might have an immediate impact, it might be straight away, or it might be delayed, but it's having an effect. So this is, if we want to think about our life, if we want to think about controlling our life, we need to think about this idea, this concept. And this is has been very much a part of the New Age. It's very much a part of philosophy. And it's an extremely important thing to get kind of comfortable with and examine. A simple way that this has been expressed many times is that my thoughts create my reality. Okay, so thoughts do go a long way towards creating a reality. And that's because of this idea of causes and consequence. I know I talked a lot there, Bonnie. Can you deal with that?
Yeah, just summarize a little bit. 就是
Yeah.
老师说，在西方里面，那个业力就是你做一件好的事情，它就会产生好的结果；然后你做一件不好的事情，它可能就会产生一个不好的结果。然后在佛教里面也是，就是佛教里面说的这个因果业力，其实就是我们的行为啊，然后还有我们的行动，它就会产生一种结果嘛。对，就是那个果。然后所以就是我们的任何的一些想法，它可能都会有一些涟漪，然后它都会有一些想法之后，你就会有一些感觉，然后有一些感觉之后，你就会去行动，然后行动之后就会产生结果，那就是一连串的这个显化。对。然后像老师刚好举例，就是如果你今天起来，然后你看到天气不好，然后你就有一个想法，就说：“哦，今天真的是一个很糟糕的天气。”对，然后你就是有了这个想法之后，然后你可能就会开始感觉有点沮丧啊，或者感觉有点忧郁啊。然后你感觉有点忧郁之后呢，你可能又会有更多其他负面的想法，就是不知道会有什么糟糕的事发生在我身上。反正它就是会一直。信念创造感觉，然后感觉又带来更多的信念，就是一直互相交互影响。那所以这部分是一个蛮重要的这种因果的关系。那我们就要更去留意我们自己的一些想法。
Okay.
OK，
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we can think about this idea as the idea of karma, as cause and effect. And this, I think, this is kind of like enlightenment. I think this idea here is sort of like enlightenment. The idea that our thoughts are creating our reality. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager and I got exposed to this idea, and it took a little while to sink in. The idea that my thinking, my beliefs, the way I see the world, and my internal, belief systems are shaping my experience of the world. And I think one of the things that really struck me at that time was realizing that this is not something that I have any choice about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a real important realization for me that it's not a kind of an optional thing, that this cause and effect dynamic is happening whether we want it to or not. So, therefore, this is life, and the responsibility of life is to be conscious of choosing, how we want to experience it. And it's not going to be, we are creating whether we like it or not. That's the basic idea. We are creating our experience whether we like it or not. The question then is, what are we creating?
就是老师在他年轻的时候就接触到这个信念会创造实相的这个说法，然后就是他有花了一些时间才真的去内化，还有真的去想通，还有接纳这个说法，这样就是他那时候就想说，对，其实就好像是没有选择权的，就是不管我们喜不喜欢，然后我们都在创造我们的现实。不管你是创造你不喜欢的，还是创造你喜欢的，对，然后你是有意识的在创造，还是无意识的在创造，你都是在创造你的现实。对，那所以这边就有一个提问，就是你都在创造什么样的现实
？Yeah, so I think we can look at our life and we can think about this. What are we creating? It's for myself, I have been last few years especially, I sort of try and find out what is the truth about what's going on. I try and find out what is the truth about COVID. I try and find out what is the truth about lockdowns. I try and find out what's the truth about masks. I try and find out, because I'm a bit of a natural researcher, I sort of search for information, see if I can find what do the research studies say about these things, who is looking into this, and what have they found, that sort of thing. And so what I'm aware of is that I can have a kind of a tendency to just be looking at so much information and sort of forget or get sort of like trapped in that a little bit, in that it starts to shape my thinking. If I'm looking at a lot of news information or a lot of research information, and I keep watching that, and it becomes a daily thing. I check, what can I see, what's discovered. That becoming a habit is then going to shape my beliefs and shape my experience of the world. If I start to see, the world as a corrupt place, or with a lot of corruption, then that's going to, that might be the situation. But I have to be very careful that I don't close off my mind to other possibilities, that I keep the balance right of, good and evil in the world, that sort of thing.
就是老师就说他其实就很喜欢去找一些资料啊，很喜欢找出真相，所以他就是会去找关于疫情的真相啊，然后关于为什么要戴口罩啊，然后为什么要有这种封城啊，老师会常常去看很多的资料，然后很多的资讯。然后，但是他就有开始注意到，就是他一直把注意力放在查找这些资料，然后寻找真相的这个过程当中，他就会慢慢形塑出他对这个世界的看法，还有一些信念，然后有一些想法，对，然后他可能就会觉得，对，这就是一个腐败的政府啊，然后或是这个世界是好的，然后这个世界都是有很多邪恶的，就是要自己去有意识的，当你在查看这些讯息的时候，你还是要去保持你的平衡，就是不要太偏某一方，然后或是太整个被黏住，然后被吸住，这样就是还是要保持一个比较中立客观的态度。
Aware of that?
What's that?
Process you say.
嗯
Because he really stuck in there a lot before.
，Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a crazy time, hasn't it? It's been a crazy few years in the world, and everything going on in America and now around the world is kind of interesting. I find it interesting to be thinking and trying to understand what's really going on, what's behind these things. It's because if you just watch the TV, you're not going to know that.
I think the important part is, okay, after you've done those research, you know a lot of things, you know what's happening behind, then what do you want to do? I think it's
that's what I'm saying.
Main part, how you choose your action.
Yeah.
Reaction.
What do you want to do with it, and how does it shape how you see the world? And if that awareness was like, created a sense of feeling hopeless or helpless, well, then that's not productive. We could say that, there are powers beyond, our influence that are controlling things. Well, that's not helpful. It's not helpful if it pushes us to sort of stay silent, for example.
Or we decide we want to create another new lifestyle, is off-ground lifestyle.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's different reaction.
Yeah. That's a different reaction, a positive reaction, I think. A lot of people are thinking, how do we kind of return to nature? How do we increase our connection to being alive? This is what this is about. Yeah. Okay. So this one here, I mean,
You want me to translate?
Yep.
哦，好，就是刚刚就是在讨论说，老师看了各式各样的资料之后，然后他就会有最重要就是可能那时候虽然是整个陷进去了，但是最重要就是你看完所有的研究啊，所有的讯息、所有资料之后，你的下一步的行动是什么？你是觉得啊，那对啊，就是没有希望，还是那我们就整个放弃，然后放弃治疗这样？还是你的下一个行动是对，那我们可以做些什么来改变，然后是来传播真相，就是每个人接收完这些讯息之后，会有不一样的想法，不一样的输出。那这部分就是选择权在我们自己的手上。
Okay.
嗯
Okay, so we've covered the idea that our thinking is creating results all the time. There's no choice. One way that we so let's just talk about projection here. I think this is a very psychological construct or idea. And the idea here, projection, is that one of the ways we sort of try and protect ourselves from sort of uncomfortable feelings is that we will, when we have something we have judged in ourselves, I'll try and just say this in a very simple way. When we have something that we have within us that we have judged, we will tend to externalize that, which is put it to the outside, and we will judge others for that, or we will judge the environment in some way. So if we have judged ourselves as bad, for example, and again, this is going back to sort of a sense of self-esteem. If we've judged ourselves as bad, for example, we will have a tendency to judge others as bad rather than ourselves, because thinking we are bad or unattractive or whatever it is not a comfortable thing. And so to run away from that uncomfortableness, we will project our thought, our belief onto others. So this is something to really watch out for. And we can, so do you want to just say what that is then Bonnie? What I
就是这个 projection 就是投射，然后就是一个心理学很常提到的，就是当我们在内在的时候，如果我们内在是有自我批评的时候，我们通常会倾向于把这个自我批评的感觉把它投射在外在的世界，然后所以我们就会把这个我们自己不喜欢自己内在的一些特质，然后就呈现在外在世界，然后你看到别人那样做的时候，你就会去骂那个人，或是你就会去批评那个人，因为你就是我们内在对这样的自己有这样的特质，然后因为评判自己是很不好的感觉嘛，所以我们就会倾向于去把它投射在外面，然后就是把它变成是别人的不好，然后别人的错，对。
Yeah. So our judgment is not always going to be a reflection necessarily of the judgments that we have on ourselves. But what we want to do is we want to check. It's a good idea to check that. When I judge somebody else, is that really just my belief about myself? Is that something that I'm seeing in myself that I feel uncomfortable with? Or is it related to something in myself that I feel uncomfortable about, that I just am judging another person? So we can check that. And the other thing that I think I've already mentioned this before is that others are going to be doing this process onto us. Right? So that's a good thing to be aware of as well. So when we get judged, we need to check, is that really something that is going on for us? Somebody judges us as a mean person, you know. Is that true? Is it something, or does that tell me more about the other person, more about them than it says about me? So this idea of projection, everybody gets involved with this. Everyone's doing it. You know, it's good to sort of be aware of that and to question it. Am I projecting my discomfort onto others? Other people pushing their low self-esteem or their fear or their judgment about themselves onto me? So we can just check that. It's a good idea to check that.
就是关于我们是不是投射了我们自己觉得不舒服的东西的特质到别人身上，或是别人是不是投射他们觉得很低自尊啊，然后他们的恐惧，然后是他们的一些不舒服投射到我们身上，它是一个很好的觉察的练习。然后可以比如说有人说哦，你就是一个对人家很糟糕很吝啬的人，那你就要去问说这是真的吗？然后还是这只是他投射在你身上，其实他是在告诉你说，对，他可能内在是一个很对人很不友善，然后很吝啬的一个人，就是我们要懂得去分辨还有觉察。对
Okay, so this little topic in here, generalizing, this is another psychological thing that we do, concept that we do. And the idea here is, we've talked before about core beliefs, right? The beliefs that we have, sort of like our most negative beliefs about ourselves. You know, I'm bad, I'm wrong, something wrong with me, I'm unlovable, those sorts of beliefs. I can't make it, got one down here. So what we tend to do with these beliefs is we tend to generalize them. So, and this is especially true of core beliefs, which were formed very early in our life. We tend to apply them everywhere. You want to say that?
Apply them what?
Everywhere.
Oh.
So say we have the belief that, I'm not good enough. Here's a personal belief related to self-esteem. It'll be a core belief. It'll come from childhood somewhere early on. And it could be the idea that I am not good enough. Okay, so that's a simple one to look at, I think. And so the idea of generalizing means that it becomes general. It's not just, oh, I'm not good enough at that. I should get better at that. It becomes, I'm not good enough at anything. And so we apply it everywhere.
就是这个也是心理学说到很重要，就是概念化，然后概括，就是通常在很早期、很小时候就会形成一个这样的，算是总结。就是如果你有一个信念是我不够好，然后你不会只觉得说，哦，我只有在可能数学不好，或是我只有在某方面不好，不会，我们就是会直接觉得，对我做什么都做不好，然后或是对我做什么都是错的，就是会有一种这种总结，然后就把它变得很普遍这样。Okay.
Okay. So I think that this is particularly important with things like our core beliefs. So let's look at this one, I can't. If we have a core belief that says something like, I can't make it, now that might seem, it might be irrational. It might not make any sense. I am alive. I was born, got through my childhood, got through my teenage years, went to school, went to university. Clearly, I can make it. But I still might have the thought, the belief that I can't make it, and it's just general. So I could, so there's the risk I'll apply it to anything and to everything, and maybe not really fully aware of it. It'll just be a feeling, I might not be aware of that thought because it's an uncomfortable thought, but I might have a feeling that emerges, that comes to the surface, that, oh, I can't make it, or I can't. Even when we can. So this is just something to be aware of, how our beliefs can be generalized to any area in our life, regardless of how rational or how sensible that sounds or realistic.
对，就是老师这边有举例，就是一种，比如说你的核心信念是我做不到，然后我不行，然后尽管你可能就是你已经平安的长大，然后你也小学毕业、中学毕业、大学毕业，然后你也有工作，可是你还是会有一种隐隐约约的，你不知道是什么，但是你总是就是有一种感觉，就是我可能做不到，然后我没有办法，对，就是会有这种你也说不出来，但是它就是会存在的一种信念，然后它就也是已经融合在我们的生活了。
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to talk about this a little bit, hopefully, before we finish. So one type of belief, one area of beliefs that gets generalized is the fear of change. So if change is scary, or change is risky, or change is dangerous, that gets applied to any change. Any change can be experienced as not safe, and of course the result of that, we see people who have that going on everywhere around us. People who are just afraid to do anything different, afraid to try a different lifestyle, afraid to move houses, afraid to change jobs, afraid to take some risk. Change, the idea change is not safe, that gets generalized.
就是老师这边在强调一个，就是比如说，如果你对于改变是危险的，然后是不安全的，你有一个核心的信念是这个的话，那你可能就会在你日常生活中，你就会去总括所有的，比如说你就会觉得啊，那我就是不能改变我的工作，然后不能改变我的关系，然后不能干嘛干嘛，反正只要任何涉及有关改变的，你都会觉得是危险，然后是不安全的。
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on quickly. Okay, so beliefs, that what we believe, their thoughts, the idea that I can't make it, is that going to have some sort of feeling, some sort of emotion attached to it?
就是信念会有很多的一些情绪感受跟它附着连在一起。
The same with the idea, if I'm thinking that, I'm not attractive, is that going to have some emotion?
对，
Yeah.
就像前面刚说，比如说你觉得自己是没有魅力，然后你觉得自己是没有吸引力的话，你可能就会有一些情绪反应。
Yeah. And this is an important point, this idea that beliefs produce emotion, or beliefs are going to produce some sort of feeling. Because when the feeling isn't a nice feeling, then we push the feeling out of our awareness. We want to hide the feeling. And this is where G.R.M.T breathwork comes in very handy, is to recontact these things. But if a belief has got an uncomfortable emotion connected to it, we will run away from that feeling in our body. And when we start to run away from that feeling in our body, we are also running away from the belief itself, and it becomes hidden to us. So this is a very important thing, that beliefs produce an emotion. When the emotion is physically uncomfortable, then it's got a good chance that it's going to push the belief into our unconscious.
就是这部分很重要，就是信念会创造我们的一些情绪反应嘛。那所以当是一个好的情绪的话，我们就会觉得哦，那就很好，对，因为就是它背后就是有一个好的信念。但是如果是一个让你会不舒服的情绪反应的话，我们通常呢就会想要 想要逃避呀，然后想要躲藏，我们就会把它推开，或是把它压下去，然后这样的话，我们就会感觉不到。但是你感觉不到那个感觉，或是那个身体部位的话，它其实就会你的那个让你不舒服的那个信念，它也同时被推到你的无意识，然后所以你就再也觉察不到你的那个负面的这个信念，然后你就会，这也是为什么 G.R.M.T 是一个很棒的那个疗愈的那个方法，就是因为我们可以去接触到我们这些逃避很久，然后是我们不想要面对的这些情绪感受，然后这些信念，然后让它有机会可以浮出来，然后被我们觉察，被我们发现，然后跟接纳，这样。
Okay. Okay, so this is sort of like basic sort of cognitive therapy. This is what a cognitive therapy will tell you. So we've got our beliefs are producing action, they're producing an emotion, yeah, and they're producing this behavior and action. So if we think that we are not good enough, then the chances are pretty good we will attempt less. If we think we are not attractive, the chances are we will hold back in finding a new relationship. If we think we're not good at relationships, that, you know, people don't like us or whatever, this is all going to affect our behavior. You know, why, if you think that it's not safe to change, why would you want to change?
就是信念也会直接影响到我们的行为。就像如果你觉得自己是没有吸引力的话，你当然就不会想要去吸引你的另外一半，你就不会想要去找伴侣。然后如果你觉得你的信念是，改变是很危险的，那你当然就不会想要去改变啊。这个是它会直接影响到信念，直接影响到我们的一些选择跟行为。
Yep. Okay. So you can see there's a bit of a sort of the picture emerging here. You know, our thinking is helping to produce emotions and our feelings. Our thinking is shaping our behavior. How we see things is shaping our behavior. And then here we've got that we tend to attract according to what our beliefs are. You know, if we're thinking that we're not a worthwhile person, chances are people are going to treat us badly. You know, if we're thinking that we don't deserve something, we're probably going to put ourselves into situations or attract situations which aren't going to work out so well. You know, and consequently, if we believe that we deserve to have this type of experience, the chances are better that we will actually attract that to us. You know, so it's like if we believe there are opportunities will appear because we will see them. If we don't believe there is any opportunities, even if they are present, we will not notice them.
就是你有什么样的信念，你就会吸引什么样的情境，然后还有一些人事物过来。就假如你觉得你自己是不值得，是不够好的话，那你可能就会吸引一些人事物境，就跟你说，对啊，你就是做得很烂，就是很糟糕。然后或是如果你觉得你是，就是改变是很危险的，那你可能就会吸引到一些就是无法改变，然后是就一直只能待在原地的状况，对，诸如此类的。
Okay. So with all of this, I think our best bet, our best sort of course of action is to take notice of these ideas. You know, these are not new ideas. They are old ideas, and they are very important about how we're going to, create our life closer to what we can imagine than further away. You know, and this is sort of the process of having a life, is to just see, is to face our own internal world, our inner world of thinking and beliefs, and see what we can do with it. in this lifetime that we've got. So, because one of the issues here is that we have to deal with what is our unconscious thinking. That's the biggest issue. What are we thinking? And we can figure out, to a good degree, what we are thinking or what we can be conscious of, but we also have to sort of start to look around and dig in and see what are we thinking which we are not aware of, which is still producing results.
就是在我们的人生当中呢，去看见，然后觉察到我们的一些可能无意识的选择，然后它还是持续的在创造我们的人生嘛，所以我们要怎么样可以去更进一步的去察觉自己有什么样的信念，然后它是之前都不曾察觉过的，但是它持续的在形成一些结果嘛。对，所以第8章这边就要教大家怎么样去察觉我们这些内在的状态，然后怎么样去改变。Okay, sorry, I need to go the toilet.
Okay.
And wait
Okay.
a little bit.
We'll shift it over to May for some translation skills.
Yeah. Oh, but I want
Okay.
to learn this part. 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay, this is a quote here from Master Shen Yin. Now, Taiwanese will probably recognize Master Shen Yin. You recognize that name?
圣严法师
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Dharma Drum Mountain.
法鼓山的圣严法师
Yeah. Quite a well-known Buddhist master, teacher, author of this book, There is No Suffering, which is a commentary on the Heart Sutra.
就这本书叫做那里没有苦难，然后它是从那个心经里面就是在说
Yeah, which is a very interesting thing to read. So anyway, what he says here is freedom to choose is a great gift that comes with great responsibility. It means we are responsible for our own actions and life situations. We are the designers of our lives. So I think that's kind of pretty much saying what I've been saying here is that this freedom to choose and choosing our thinking, choosing our behavior, choosing our actions, and that choosing is happening all the time. We have that freedom is there. Even if we are not choosing or not consciously defining what we want to think, that is a choice.
就是其实当我们开始意识到之后，就会发现我们其实无时无刻都在做选择。那其实有很多选择是在我们无意识的情况下发生的，但即使是在无意识的情况下发生，那也是一种选择。所以法鼓山的圣严法师就是这一句话，就是说，我们就是有选择的自由这件事情是一件很棒的礼物。那代表我们是可以有意识的去回应跟创造我们的生命。
Yeah. Okay. So changing our thinking. So one thing that stands out straight away is that, okay, a lot of our thinking we will be aware of. We can look at it. We can write affirmations. I've given you that example before. If I write down, I am an attractive person, what does my thinking say? What's my first response to that? That'll tell us what some of our thoughts are in relationship to that. Another important way that we can start to make more contact with what our thinking is by watching our breathing, by being this developing mindfulness, excuse me, mindfulness of breathing, which basically means that, it's a very much a Buddhist practice, the idea of really connecting with our breathing, being aware of our breathing, following our breathing, knowing when we are taking a deep breath, when we are taking a shallow breath, really following our breathing. And this is what guided respiration, mindfulness therapy focuses on a lot, of course, is how to regulate our breathing. But if we can start to regulate our breathing, if we can watch our breathing, and we can make that concentration on that really strong, then we will become aware of what is our real thinking, our unconscious thoughts. What's out of our awareness will come into our awareness. So this mindfulness of breathing, when it's very concentrated, is a very good tool for becoming aware of what our thinking is.
Yeah.
Do you want to say that?
I missing that part.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just talking about the idea of mindfulness of breathing, which is essentially a kind of a Buddhist practice, and how useful that can be for increasing our self-awareness.
就是正念的去那个觉察跟观察我们的呼吸，其实就可以去然后发展出我们如何觉察自己的信念啊的这些能力。
Yeah. So as something, as a practice, as a tool, you know, if we start to watch our breathing and we breathe a little bit deeper. You know, I think it's important to have some breathing regulation, not just watch it, but we start to breathe a little bit deeper. If we can keep doing that and really concentrate on that, not run away from that, not forget, not become sleepy, stay wide awake and just watch our breathing, guiding our breathing. We can learn how to do that, then that will open up our unconscious mind and it will allow us to see quite clearly what it is we are thinking. You know, it's a practice, though. It's not something that just happens. You know, it's not going to happen with 5 minutes. It needs to be something that's learned, something that's developed. But it's a very powerful tool.
对，就是老师发展这一套 G.R.M.T 的那个呼吸引导，就是在教授这个，就是当你可以很深入，然后很专注在观察你的呼吸，然后不是那种5分钟、10分钟，而是透过长时间的观察，就是可能1个小时，然后很多次很久的练习，然后你也不是就是5分钟然后就飘掉，然后可能10分钟就睡着，就是透过如果你可以很清醒、很清楚、很有觉知的去观察自己的呼吸的时候，其实你就是为你的那个潜意识跟无意识打开了一条通道，就是从你的表意识去连接到这些，然后你就可以看清楚更多你的人生的一些这种无意识的选择啊，或是这种潜意识的模式。
Yeah. I think perhaps another, just, you know, watching my own breathing right now, another important thing with mindfulness of breathing, being aware of our breathing, is with practice, it does allow us to stay in the present moment. You know, if we can train ourselves to be aware of our breathing, you know, moment to moment, so we are able to watch our breathing, and it becomes automatic. Then we can notice more of what is happening in the moment and how we respond. If I'm aware of my breathing, I will notice when I have a reaction to somebody. I will notice if, you know, someone makes me upset. I will feel it right as soon as it happens. I will feel it in my body, and I will be able to go, whoa, what's that connected to? So if I'm already connected to myself, my body, with my breathing, then anything else happening, I'm going to be aware of it.
对，就是透过这个跟自己呼吸连结的这个观察跟这种练习，就是当你就可以更专注在每一个当下，不管是有什么人事物境的发生，然后你当下可能会有一个反应，但是因为你透过你去连接自己的呼吸，所以不管是发生什么样的反应，你都可以又在那个当下又觉察到说，哎，我的反应怎么？哦，原来我的反应是这样，然后我对这个事件的看法是这样，你就可以更去洞见自己的一些起心动念，还有你对这个事件发生的一些情绪反应，你在那个当下，你就可以去察觉到。
Actually, I've got a book here. This is an early book by Thich Nhat Hanh, this one here.
就是一行禅师的著作。
Yeah. And he of course, he talks about mindfulness a lot. And in here, he talks about mindfulness of breathing a lot, and how useful it is for self-awareness, for change, for developing ourself, for handling uncomfortable things, suffering. So I think you cannot say how valuable this mindfulness of breathing and the practice of breathing and doing something like guided respiration mindfulness therapy, G.R.M.T, the benefit of that, well, it's incredible what that does for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
真的会对我们的那个，就是不管自我觉察还是一些痛苦反应，我们都可以更透过我们的连接自己的呼吸，然后透过老师提供的这一套 G.R.M.T 引导式正念呼吸疗法，我们都可以去更真实的看见，还有觉察我们自己。
Okay, so this little section here, taking the bite out of change, what that means is sort of making change a little bit easier. As I said before, change is quite an issue with us. If we have ideas that, well, we got some here, I've written some here. Change is a struggle. Change is hard work. Change leads to separation. I can't change. It takes a long time to change. Change hurts. I'll lose my friends if I change. It's too late to change. I'm too old to change. And on and on and on. Okay. So these are probably quite common. I'm sure that you will have some, we all have some ideas about change like these here.
就是这边要讲说，大部分人对于改变是有很多的障碍，就是大家会觉得改变就是会很困难啊，然后改变是一个会可能导致分离呀，然后或是我不能改变，或是要花很久的时间才能改变，然后是改变是会痛的，或是痛苦的，然后是我可能会失去我的朋友啊，如果我改变的话，然后是我已经太老了，我已经没有办法改变，或是这已经太晚了，现在才改变已经太晚了，就是我们会有各式各样对于改变不想改变这种信念。Okay.
Okay, so you can have a look at these beliefs about change here. So I've just written some down here, some positive beliefs. I can change. I can change now. I can tolerate the discomfort associated with change. This means here, this one just means that, yeah, change is going to be uncomfortable, sure, but I can deal with it. That's what that one means. And this one here, it's always safe to change. Change is going to be safe because that's what we think. That's what we might think. It's not safe. And this one here, change increases my experience of love. You can change, you can swap out that love. You can say change increases my experience of happiness. Change increases my experience of prosperity. Change increases my experience of support. We can add things in there.
就老师这边有提供一些比较正面的，你可以去取代你这些旧有对于改变的恐惧的信念。像第一个就是，我现在就可以改变，然后或是第二个就是我可以去忍受，然后我可以去处理关于改变所带来的这些不舒服、这些不习惯、这些不适感。然后或是第三个就是改变是安全，改变总是安全的，就是帮自己植入这个信念。或者第四个就是改变会增加我对于可能是爱的体验，或是勇气的体验，或是被支持的体验。对，OK。
Okay. I think a little good exercise here, just in this section, is that you can do an affirmation, or you can write down the thought, the problem with change is. So that's called an incomplete sentence. So you complete the sentence. So you write down the problem with change is. Or you could say, what I don't like about change is.
就
It's a good
是
little exercise.
也可以去做一些那个填空，去找出你对于改变的这种不安全感是来自于什么。就是如果改变了会怎么样，然后你自己去填空。
Yeah. Okay. And there's different ways you can do that. You could say the worst thing that I'm afraid of with change is, the thing I most afraid will happen if I change is. And you can do it with specific things. My biggest fear of changing my job is. The biggest fear of leaving this relationship is. My biggest fear of getting into a new relationship is.
就是你们可以做一些练习，就是如果改变这个伴侣关系的话，它可能会带来最糟的结果是什么？或是如果改变了现在的工作的话，它可能会带来最糟糕的结果是什么？或是去写出，如果我不想要伴侣关系的话，它可能带来最糟的结果会是什么？就是去把自己那种最深的对于改变的恐惧去把它抓出来。
Worried I have no money after I change job.
Yeah, a fear I have of changing my work is I won't have enough money. Okay. Okay, these things, you know what these are? Yeah. Okay, so this next little section of this chapter here is a little exercise, as a 6-day, I believe, 6-day exercise in sort of bringing our thinking in line with this idea of the law of cause and effect. The idea of bringing our thinking in line with the idea of karma, if you like. So this is a 6-day exercise, and so each day it has an affirmation or a thought that goes with each day.
就这边有一个6天的一个练习，可以让你的那个头脑去对齐这个因果的关系。
Yeah, and I think this is helpful to do repeatedly, but anyway, so you would need to translate this into Mandarin. So you start out day 1 with this thought: my beliefs shape my reality. And you just think it. You think it. You can write it down. You write it on here, and you stick it on your fridge. And you write it. You stick it on your car. You stick it on your computer. My beliefs shape my reality. My beliefs are shaping my reality. And you just want to repeat it. Right? And then we go on. So the next day you would do this. I have the power to direct my thinking as I choose. So I have the power, I have the ability to direct my thinking as I want to. That's what that one is saying. So that's day 2. Day 3, my current reality is the result of my past thoughts. I can change my thoughts. Okay, so this is just saying that what I'm experiencing now is the result of the thoughts I've had before, and I can change my thoughts now. Day 4, I'll let you go through this after I finish them, Bonnie. Day 4, I am free to choose my experience of life. And then day 5, my life changes the moment my mind changes. And then finally, I can change my mind quickly and easily. Okay. So that's the process, a 6-day process. You write it on these things, reinforce it. You can do that as much as you like.
就是第一天的话，你就可以用便条纸写下来。对，它是一个6天的练习。那当然不是只有做6天啦，就是你可以一直重复的去做这个以6天为一个巡回，然后去重复的做。那像第一天，你就可以写下说，对，我的信念会形塑我的那个实相，会形塑我的生活。第一天你就把便条纸贴在你的浴室啊，到处看得到的地方，然后就一直提醒自己。对，那像第2天你就可以说，就是你是可以去，你是有力量去选择你的那个思考的。Day 2, I'm confused. Me
too. I have the power to direct my thinking as I choose, which means I have the freedom, I have the ability to choose my thinking.
就是所以第2天就是我有能力可以去选择我想要如何的思考。
Yeah, I can choose my thinking. I can choose my own thinking. That's what that one says. Okay.
Yeah.
Then this one.
Day 3 is 就是我现在的第3天，你就去做我现在的实相，就是因为我过去的想法，然后所形成的，然后我可以改变我的想法。你就把这句写下来，然后第3天就一直这样提醒自己，然后第4天就是就是我可以自由的去体验我的生活，然后去选择我想要什么样的生活，我是自由的，然后我可以去自由的去选择去体验我的那个日常生活。然后第5天就是如果我改变我的那个信念，我的人生就会改变。就是在那一个时刻，我如果改变了我的想法，我的人生就会跟着改变。然后最后第6天就是我可以很快的去改变我的想法，很快而且简单的可以去改变我的想法。Good practice.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a good process, I think. I think it's a good process. I'm going to reinforce it for myself.
Day 6.
Day 6.
I can change my mind quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So this one here, reinforcing new beliefs. So taking on a new belief, I am loved and wanted, for example. if we want to change, if we think we're not loved, not wanted, it's not going to change. You know, that belief is a strong belief. It's not going to change instantly with little effort. It's going to take time and it's going to take effort. We have to do the repetition. We have to start to look for evidence that we are loved and wanted. So this idea here, you want to repetition is very important. You know, and we've talked about this previously in the other chapters. You know, we need to repeat. We need to get it into our unconscious, get it into our mind. If we want to change our thinking and we want to say, you know, we are lovable or loved loved and wanted, or that we can, you know, that I can succeed in life, whatever it is, we need to look at creating supporting beliefs. So we would start out by writing down, you know, that, you know, I can make it. And then we can write, you know, I'm the right type of person to get what I want in life. So we can think up, be a bit creative, try and be a bit creative, and think about making a whole little system of beliefs to support what we want. And in this one here, evidence. You look around and you want to find evidence that something is true. You know, I am a creative person. Wow, look, I can see I'm a creative person because, you know, oh, I made this wall, so I must be a creative person. You know, something like that. It's important. It's a little thing, but it's important because this is what we're doing for the, you know, this is what I told that story at the beginning, you know, I had my friend who's looking around and she's ignoring that men are interested in her. You know, she's not seeing it. She needed to look for evidence. If she started to look, she would see it.
Or sometimes people will create evidence to show their belief is correct. Yeah, that's right. That's the other side of this. So if you want a new belief, you need to look for evidence. Yeah, because the old belief you've got, the limiting belief, the belief you don't want, you are already collecting evidence for that. People are bad, right? You can't trust people. Look, I get another worker come and I can't trust him. He wrecked this. See, I know it. I knew it. I was right. And then you make a trap for him.
Yeah, you could do that. You too as well. You could trap your worker come to
your husband.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. That's more of the details which we're not going into right now.
Okay. Let's stay a little bit.
Okay.
就是比如说你现在有一个信念，你要重新为自己设定是我是值得被爱的，然后我是被需要的。那他当然不可能就是5分钟就马上扭转这个信念。那你要怎么样去重新为自己植入这个我是被爱的，然后我是被需要、被想要的这个信念？你就是可以去一步一步的去慢慢强化，然后去找出一些证据去支持这个信念，然后去从日常生活中，然后或是有创意的，比如说像老师他告诉自己说，对，我是一个很有创造力的人，然后他就会去找出他的证据，对，看他后面那一片墙就是他做的，然后那我就一定是一个很有创造力的人嘛，因为我做的这个墙，就是一直去找出让你的那个心智、你的头脑去重新的聚焦，把你以前觉得我是不值得被爱的这个方向去重新聚焦在我是被爱的，然后去寻找你的证据，让你的心智去寻找新的证据，对，然后透过重复的练习。
Okay. And we got one more here, that you can reinforce beliefs by feeling as if they are already established. You know, if we want to feel like we are loved, what does it feel like to be like that. Imagine if we imagined we are loved, you get the feeling of it. And this is very important. This gets, it's very important. The feeling of the belief that we want to adopt. What's that going to be like? Imagining that, putting ourselves in the situation, in our thinking, in our imagination. That's very important. That's used a lot now, like imagining you are there. There's research, it was quite a while ago, I was looking at research that was showing that for sports psychology, it is more effective for a sports person to imagine doing the performance they want to do. Say, for example, it's a swimmer and they've got to dive into the water. Imagining themselves do that produces better performance than just practicing it, physically practicing it. Jumping into the water each time is not as good as imagining doing it perfectly. And so if you can imagine it and get into the feeling of it and imagine how your body goes and imagine what that's like, that's very powerful.
这是第5个，也是很重要，就是去想象，比如说你觉得你要去接受这个我是被爱的这个信念，那你就去想象说，对，如果你已经接受了这个信念，然后你就是一直被所有人爱着的那个感觉是什么，然后去观想，然后去感觉那个状态。然后老师就分享说，在运动心理学的杂志里面就有提到说，像运动员他们就是，与其你是一直不断的去练习同样一个跳水姿势，那如果你可以先在就是在你的想象力里面去想象自己已经可以非常完美的去完成的话，它的效果是很惊人的。而且会比你一次又一次的去做还要更快，然后更有效率这样。
Yeah. Okay, so we've been talking about change. We've been talking about changing our beliefs, changing our behavior, the idea that if we want to make something different, then change is involved. We've been talking about change, and if we want to make something different, then change is going to be involved. We have to change, right? That's what we've been talking about. Do you want to say that?
What's the point?
The point is that we're talking about change. It's all about change. Okay? So if everything is okay as it is, there's no real reason to change our thinking, change our beliefs. If we've got the level of satisfaction, the level of happiness, we experience the level of love we want. We've got the financial situation we want. We've got the car transport we want. Our living experience in our house is what we want. None of that. If everything is okay, then nothing needs to change. If we can say that we are totally satisfied, everything is as it should be, which is actually a good place to get to, but we still might want to change things. So if that's the situation, then what we're talking about is change. Something's got to change, right? Our thinking has to change. Our beliefs have to change. Otherwise, the reality is not going to change. So we're talking about change.
对，就是刚刚前面的我们全部都在讲改变。对，那当然，如果你已经对你的生活或是你的各式各样，你都觉得一切都很好，然后当然也没有什么必须要改变的这个必要。但是如果你觉得就是有一些地方好像会怪怪的，或是好像没有到那么顺，然后或是你有想要更进一步的成长的话，那改变它就是一个必然的过程跟经历。
Yeah. And the most important change is learning to be ourselves, to be real, to be authentic, to be who we really are. That's the most important change.
然后最重要的改变就是去 去找到我们那个最真实的自己。
Yeah. Okay. So all of these things, changing anything in ourselves is going to involve some level of anxiety or fear.
就是有很多的改变的状态都会引发我们很多焦虑跟恐惧。
Yeah. And so this last section, this last chapter, and I think I'll just quickly kind of summarize it. I'll explain it by looking at this word here, perturbation. So what perturbation is, what that word means, it sounds like a kind of a difficult word, but what it's mean is to perturb, which is about to stir up, to disturb, if you like. Okay, so to perturb something is to shake it up. If something is nice and settled, you know. So here's a good example. Bubble tea. Bubble tea is a good example here I can use. So if you have your bubble tea and it's got some of the, what do you call the balls in there?
Bubble.
Yeah.
珍珠 pearl.
Yeah. Pearl. It's got your pearl in there, okay? So that's all settled on the bottom, right? Goes to the bottom. So you've got your bubble tea, looks lovely, milky one, and all the pearls all are at the bottom. That's your normal state, the normal situation. You can think about that as your life right now, normal life. Yep.
就
You want to
是
give an example?
Yeah. 就是这个 P 开头这个英文字其实就是那个搅动，对，然后老师就用一个台湾人都很知道的饮料来做比喻，就是我们现在生活就跟珍珠奶茶一样，对，就是一个珍珠全部都在下面，然后看起来就是一杯好喝的奶茶，然后就是静止在那边的，对。
Okay, so when we are trying to make some change, what we are doing is we are changing the system of beliefs, and that is like shaking your bubble tea. Okay? And everything is going to be moving around, and so that's what we're doing when we try and make a change in our thinking, a change in our behavior, or we decide that we want to try and create a different situation. We're going to leave our job, right? So say, okay, I'm going to quit and take a risk. Okay, so that is going to shake up, or this word perturb, our system. It's going to shake it up, and we're going to experience some level of anxiety. And so we need to be able to, okay, we're going to expect that there will be anxiety, and we can accept the anxiety, and we can use that to sort of examine what our thinking is, what our fears are. And so that's what this chapter is about. Is about, we want to create that. We want to shake the bubble tea. That's what we want to do. We want to shake it up. It's going to be scary, but that will, when you shake it up, you're going to get a new system develop. And that's what's going to happen. It's not going to settle down in exactly the same way. The way all the bubbles, all the things go down to the bottom is going to be different. So that's the idea in this chapter here, is talking about that. Shake things up, see what changes, you know, and things will change from that shaking up process. Yeah.
所以就是像在生活中，如果你要做出一些改变，比如说工作上的改变，或是你想要辞职，然后或是你想要改变一些关系，或是一些其他东西，就像我们在搅动那个珍珠奶茶一样，你就是要去那边搅动它，这样它才会有，你要喝的时候才会有新的滋味。但是你在搅动的过程当中，我们就是在重塑我们的信念。跟改变我们的行为嘛，那当然就是这过程当中很容易会引发的出来的这些焦虑跟恐惧，它就是一个我们很好的去检视自己的时刻， 就是我到底是相信了什么，会让我这么的焦虑，或是我到底是相信了什么样的信念，会让我这么的害怕。就是这个时刻就可以让我们去检视我们的这些核心信念，对，那你的人生就会很像就是珍珠奶茶这样，就是重新的改造。
Okay. So shake that bubble tea.
所以就是去摇晃你的珍珠奶茶吧。
Yeah. That's what we need to do. Okay, we'll leave it at that. That's this section finished off. And you know, we'll go on to the next section, sort of, which is very practical about values. How do we define what we want? That's the next section, and we can get through that, and we'll do that in next week.
好哦，那我们今天的读书会就停在去摇晃你的珍珠奶茶这边，然后下周要继续，最后一次会继续探讨，就是你的关于我们的价值观啊，还有一些东西。哦，Thank you for your sharing, super good.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you for your translating skills into Mandarin.
Horrible.
It's better than my Mandarin, which is Buhao.
就是大家可以那个自己去多听几次，去自己训练自己的英文能力。每次可能都会听到不一样的。对对对，OK，
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
谢谢大家，拜拜。